David Vaughan worked with iconic choreographer Merce Cunningham for 5 decades. Today, Vaughan serves as Merce Cunningham Dance Company archivist. The modern troupe performs 3 works at Penn State as part of its final 2-year legacy tour. PreViews writer Jennifer Pencek speaks with Vaughan about his career with Cunningham, who died at age 90 in 2009. Vaughan, author of a Cunningham biography, talks about the choreographer's contributions to the dance world. He also discusses the legacy plan, which ensures Cunningham's creations will live on.
I know that Merce Cunningham spent 70 years as a leader in American avant-garde and shaped his dance company basically into quite the innovative entity. As someone who knew him and has written about him, what to you made Merce stand out among others in his field?
Well, certainly there's innovations that he was responsible for in the dance itself. Although those innovations were at the first, in the beginning not generally accepted, he stuck to them, and he didn't compromise. He wasn't concerned to make his art popular, but to continue to do what he felt was important that he should do. And another thing I think that's important is the establishment of Cunningham, his technique of dancing itself, that it wasn't just a style that he personally performed in, but something that could be passed on to other dancers, and as a way of learning to dance, not just to dance Cunningham.
Going into the legacy tour, this kind of gives people the last chance to really see his legacy on stage. What has that been like for both the dancers and others involved to kind of be on this legacy tour? And how do you think Merce's legacy continues after the tour?
Well, I think so. I mean, it's the last chance to see them see these pieces danced by dancers who worked personally, were trained and worked with him. But they will continue to be seen because an important part of the legacy is to hand on the work in other ways to other companies. That's why we have this whole plan to make what we call dance capsules, which will contain all the information necessary to reconstruct a work, whether it's film and video of the dances being performed, the music they are performed to, the design elements, Merce's own choreographic notes so that you know what he was thinking when he made the piece, and also other archival material that I would provide. But all this material will be digitized, and if usually it would be, certainly in the beginning, a former member of the company would take this material and pass the work on to another company. It's already being done, of course. I mean, we've been doing it for some time. But eventually there will be, we hope to have, 50 key works of Merce's repertory that will be preserved that way.
With the actual legacy plan, I know that includes the tour, obviously, and it also includes career transition for the dancers and the musicians and the staff. I was wondering what your thoughts on the aspect of the plan that would kind of shut down the company at the end versus continuing on under the leadership of others. Was that ever discussed, or did Merce ever discuss that?
No, I think it was something that we began to think about as Merce was getting older, and we had to face the fact that a time would come when either he would no longer be with us, or he would cease to travel with the company, which in fact he did. That happened in the last few years. But he still continued to work, because actually what he did in the last 2 or 3 years was to continue working with the small group of what we call the understudy group, who would always be rehearsing alongside the dancers when Merce was making a piece on the company. But as in the last few years, Merce would stay behind in New York and work with the rugs, as we call them, the repertory understudy group, developing the new choreography, which he continued to do. I mean, his last piece was performed, as you know, a few weeks before he died.
Right.
But he had been most of that work he did that way, working with the understudy group. and then passing it on to the dancers in the company itself.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope actually that perhaps there will still continue to be a small group based on the current understudy group, with perhaps some of the dancers in the company who want to continue to perform. A smaller group that would perform less formally, perhaps, than the company does now.
So it was always planned that it would end this way?
Well, yes, as I say, we had to face the fact that Merce wasn't always going to be with us, so a plan had to be made. What will happen after he's gone? And that was what was decided, that the company itself couldn't really continue as it does now without Merce, because, well, for one thing, a dance company needs new work. We have an enormous repertory of works from the past, many of which we're now performing on this tour. Some of them, in fact, have been brought back for the tour. But then eventually, as I say, the company needs new work, and there's no one to make new work for the Cunningham Company.
Do you have favorite experiences of being with the company, or does anything kind of stand out to you that you think might surprise other people?
Well, I think we still have to convince people that the dancers are not dancing to the music in the conventional way, that they, in fact, often haven't heard the music they dance to until the first performance. In other words, the dance and the music are independent of one another, which is always a cardinal principle of Merce's work. And also, I don't think people always understand the idea that chance processes that Merce worked with when he was choreographing. It doesn't involve improvisation at all, but when Merce was making the work, when he was developing the choreography, he would use what we call chance processes to determine how the work would achieve its continuity. And the dancers didn't, in other words, engage in that chance process themselves. It was something that Merce worked on when he was developing the choreography.
Tickets are on sale for Merce Cunningham Dance Company, February 12, 2011 at Eisenhower Auditorium. Order online at www.cpa.psu.edu or by phone at 1-800-ARTS-TIX.